Right, let's kick it off, shall we?
Okay,
Here we are.
Tara Knott in the building. Yes.
Yeah.
Thank you for coming up.
Thanks for having me.
Nice to see you.
Yeah, nice
Not
to
seen
see
you for a while,
No.
since like Thursday. How's tricks?
Yeah,
I
good.
feel like I should
Busy.
really house tricks.
Yes, you are.
I'll stop doing it.
Tricks.
House tricks.
It's fine. Busy, which is great.
Yeah. That's what you do.
bit-
You're a wedding stylist.
Wedding stylist. Well, I would say stylist and event designer is how
Yes.
I would describe what I do. Predominantly, it is working with couples and dressing venues and doing all the styling side, but I also do event management. So my background has been event management since I started many years ago.
And how's Tara Knott business looking at the minute? How's things?
Good, really, really good, really busy. You
Yeah.
know, when you think to last year, I think at this point last year I'd only done a few weddings because of pandemic. We're allowed to talk about that. And now I think today was wedding 32 since January.
Wow.
So
That's incredible.
It's
That's a mad number, isn't it, already?
yeah, it's great. I'm really
How many this
grateful.
year?
65 I've got
Wow.
this year, yeah.
Wow.
Yeah. I know, I can't quite believe it actually. My previous job, when I was thinking about leaving, I was like, right, 20 if you've got 20 weddings, you can leave. I'd be happy with that. I'm not bothered any more than that. And now you kind of look back and go, wow, yeah, 20 weddings was a breeze.
3 times
Yeah.
more that this year. Wow.
I mean, next year I won't take as much as that. Some of this is postponements and left over from COVID. So yeah, but it's exciting.
You've had what was it, a few years ago when you left the university?
Yeah,
you were
so I
an
left-
event manager for Derby University.
Yeah, so I was business development and event manager, for the university. So I managed the conference and events facilities, and any of their sort of larger scale events I would get involved in, which I absolutely loved. But I just had got to a bit of a crossroads of making a decision about, do I go and do my own thing, or do I climb the ladder and look for a head of events role? And I decided
what was the tipping point?
I think the
Was there a
tipping point, there was a tipping point. I think it was work-life balance, and it was feeling like, you're there from 8 till whatever, working with somebody else, juggling the children, nursery drop off. Finn would be in YMCA after school, and I would feel really guilty about it. He loved it, but I would feel really guilty, and then missing out on things. And I think probably one of the tipping points, which is really pathetic, but I totally forgot it was Easter bonnet day at nursery, and Emily has never let me live it down. And I thought, I'm just not even thinking about what I'm doing. I'm just so focused on going to work.
What are the
that was
ages?
guilt. 10 and 6.
10 and 6. Oh.
Yeah. So then I just made the decision to go alone.
Mm-hmm.
And now absolutely smashing it, really. I mean, you've built an incredible reputation around here. You're not just here because I know you personally. You're here because
Of what you've done
what
and
you've achieved already,
yeah.
and that
Thanks.
you've kind of, you've shown, without going into it too much, but you've shown that you can make that leap and just go for it. And the fact that you went from 20, thinking you needed 20, and you're now doing 62 in a year, it just goes to show that.
Well, I also think that if anyone is thinking about it, they should just go for it, because I had all that. I'm quite risk averse in some ways, and it was 6 months of savings, 20 weddings, knowing exactly what you're doing.
Yeah.
And I left November 2019, and then we went into a global pandemic less than 6 months later.
Wow.
So actually none of that was relevant, because it all just went away anyway. And so I think that kind of either spurs you on to think, right, just got to do it, keep going.
I find it, for you to say that you were risk averse, you've got 2 young children at the time.
Yeah.
You've got a secure job that's down the road.
Yeah.
It was only like a 5-minute drive.
Foolish, really, wasn't it?
What were you thinking, Tara?
What was I thinking? I felt like, so I had set up my business, running it alongside what I was doing at the university. And I absolutely loved working at the university, the team that I worked with, loved the job that I did. But I had got to a point where, it was making a decision, and, do you want to really push this and do it the corporate way, or go off and do your own thing? And that would be more creative. And that was really what I wanted to do, was that creativity.
So was the other job lacking the creativity?
I think it was just because my role was split between business development and event management, which was quite a nice split actually. And I'm really grateful for what I did there, because actually I managed 2 commercial areas, which taught me everything I needed to know about, you know, running a business. But it wasn't creative in the way that it's creative now. So, and obviously when you're working with somebody else, there are kind of processes that you have to go through. So I couldn't just go, right, we're going to do this on social media. It had to go through something else, and then that then prolongs things, and sometimes it's not as, you know, as quick as you would want it to be. Whereas when you're working for yourself, you can just make your decisions, can't you?
Do you run it by anybody now, or just?
Oh, sometimes I say, Jimmy, what do you think about this? And there he goes.
Jimmy, who posts up on social media. yeah, he's not the person to ask for social media. But yeah, I think it gave me the freedom to go off and do what I wanted to do and create my brand, and
How was that first wedding?
After I had the very first wedding I ever did.
The very first.
Oh my gosh, the very first wedding I ever did was a long time ago.
Here, by the way, I've just thought of something.
No, it's okay. I'm all right.
It feels like it's gone up in temperature, doesn't it?
It's probably because
we have to shut the windows.
My first wedding, paid wedding, was a long time ago at Yeldersley Hall. And I have such a good relationship with Yeldersley Hall because of that wedding, which is amazing. But I think I charged them maybe £200, worked for about 3 days at the venue, all looked lovely. And I was really nervous, and it was all very exciting. And then it just shows, doesn't it? You learn from everything. But the best man came up to me and said, "You're doing the music for when we come down in the ceremony." I never do the music now, by the way. I've learned. So I'm like, okay, have you got the music? And he said, yeah, it's on my phone. So I thought, I'll put it on mine just in case. Put it on my phone. He disappears off. His passcode is on, so I have to use my phone. And then just as the couple are leaving, they're married, everyone's clapping. My mum FaceTimed me. Like, no, not the time. And then she FaceTimed me again.
Of course she does.
She never FaceTimes me. So that is always a lasting memory of that wedding, But it felt great that, it was mine, and I had worked with the couple, and it was ideas that we had come up with together, but just that first opportunity to execute it was, it was really good. You kind of get that kind of fire to want to keep doing it.
Does that get you going, really?
Yeah. And I think that's part of the event management in, that experience, because you have that lead up to an event, and then actually you're on a bit of a come down afterwards. Yeah. Because it's quite, so it can be stressful, or you've got lots going on and you want to see it all come together. And then when you do see it all come together, it's brilliant. And that's the same for the weddings. You feel quite invested, don't you?
Oh yeah, of course you do. Yeah.
I think if you don't, you're in the wrong job. But I do genuinely care about all of the couples that I work with, and I'm really lucky that I have couples that are kind of quite relaxed and really easy, to work with, and that's nice.
So just to go back to the bit you talked about how 6 months into making a leap, a pandemic swept the nation and the world.
Didn't see that coming.
At any point there, did you think, I need to go back to the safety blanket and the safe job, or
no?
Were you that was it? You were fully in them. I can't imagine financially you had the support. That
I didn't get financial support, because even though I had done self-assessment since 2012, the university was more than 50% of my take home, so I didn't qualify for anything. And it was kind of a case of, because at first I think we all, I don't know, well, maybe I was really naive, but a couple of weeks before the pandemic, I was thinking, it's not here. I don't know what, I never heard about it on the news. And then I did a TP showcase, and somebody said, we shouldn't be doing this. I think things are going to be bad. And I was thinking, why? Things like that don't happen here. Which is really stupid when you look back now. And I think probably lots of people did. And then it was only when I went to go into a food shop that week, I thought, there's absolutely nothing anywhere.
Where's the toilet paper?
Where is the toilet paper? So none of us saw it coming. And then when they shut the schools and we got put into lockdown, I thought, it's probably going to be over by May. My May weddings will be fine. They're going to be fine. Yeah. And I genuinely thought that.
Everybody that works in the industry that's listening to this now will be going, that's exactly how. I remember thinking, by May, June, we are going to be fine.
Yeah, and we were having conversations, weren't we? And then, when it got to September, it kind of
still going.
Oh, it's still going on. This isn't... and also, I should say, I rebranded as Tara Knott 2 weeks before the global pandemic. So I launched it at that TV showcase. And that was definitely not part of my marketing plan. But, there's so many positives that came out of it, because it built new relationships with different venues, and and it opened lots of different opportunity. And the person who helped me with my branding, just the way in which she said, you know, the language that you use, and I have that like Tara/Knott, use that as your icon, and things that I wasn't, they're really little details, aren't they? But they're things that I hadn't been thinking about before. And I just used all of that downtime to...
I think it's about using that time effectively.
Yeah.
I think a lot
to
of people
do it,
sat around and done nothing, but you were very proactive during that time to kind of really get things in place that have probably put you instead to take 60 odd weddings this year. Like, that's probably part of that result.
Yeah, and I think I kept saying to myself, where do you want to be at the end of this pandemic? Do you want to be starting again? Because, you know, I built it up over years.
Yeah.
There was absolutely no way I wanted to be starting again, and I didn't. It was also that feeling of, is it distasteful to post on social media, you know, whilst all these awful things are happening?
I remember that stage.
And you kind of feel what is the right thing to do. But couples would say to me, I love it when you post because it kind of gives me a bit of hope about my wedding, or it makes me think about my wedding. And even though that, you know, the weddings this year, 3rd time, some of them, 4th time for some, and they just got to a point, I think, that as couples felt like, is it ever going to happen? Yeah. Which must be, it was horrible for us, wasn't it? Wondering if it's ever going to happen again. And that was a genuine thought. I just don't know if it is actually going to happen. And then it did. Then it went crazy.
You said something there at the start that was kind of based around, you know, building those connections and stuff like early on, and it made me think of one of, you know, from the outside looking into your business, one of the real strengths of your business has been that you're very good at building like collaborations and collaborating with suppliers. It's something that I think you've really built your business on. Do you want to just explain like how you go about that and how impactful that's been for your growth in business?
It's definitely been really impactful, and I think during 2020, when we couldn't do weddings but you got to a point where you could start to do shoots, I just worked on loads of different style shoots, but with suppliers I'd never worked with before, or maybe I'd only worked with a couple of times. And that for me was so beneficial because it meant that I grew my network, and now they're people that I recommend and they recommend me, which is great. Yeah. And then I had all of this fresh content that I really could just keep putting out. And even though it was, I mean, everybody was sort of in that situation, weren't they, in terms of nobody was doing a wedding, so it was a styled shoot. But that it also gave me an opportunity to be really creative. And I think I can only do what I can do. I need those other suppliers around me. So I have to have, and I want to have close relationships with florists, venues, stationers, cake makers, because ultimately we want photographers. Love photographers. Come on, Tara. Sorry, honestly. I was just thinking about the pretty stuff. Oh, yeah, not that you're not very pretty, obviously you are. So, because we all ultimately want that goal of how it's going to look and come together. And now I know there's so many suppliers that I could just pick the phone up to. We'll do favours for each other, or, you know, you've got each other's back, and that is really important, especially when you work for yourself. You know, when I was at the university, I had a team, and I think that's probably one of the things when I left that I missed, was not having that team environment and someone that could help me with IT. Had to figure that out. But the collaboration is, I think, really important, and it's a really good way, if you're starting in the industry, I think it's a really good way to meet people as well, in terms of like styled shoots and things.
I was sort of thinking, because you obviously work with a lot of suppliers, but do you tend to work with people on a sort of like day-to-day basis, people that you almost like outsource to, or sort of like hand things to? Because literally 62 weddings at the moment, it's a lot, isn't it? That's no feat.
Well, so I've just taken on a freelancer. Yeah. And she has been with me since May, and she's brilliant, and she's committed till January, so she's going to do a majority of the weddings with me this year.
Amazing.
And she's brilliant, and she has already set up weddings by herself. So there have been a few where I've already said to the couple, we can do it, but I won't physically be able to be there, but we can have somebody set it up, which they're obviously totally cool with. And so she's been able to do that, and that honestly felt like a weight had been lifted off my shoulders, because I was kind of thinking, how there's some weeks where it's quite crazy, you know. I do have other freelancers as well who work on sort of an ad hoc basis, which is great, and it just means that pressure is off a little bit. So she's been with me today whilst I've been setting up, so you get the setup done so much quicker. And I kind of was thinking, why did I not do this last year?
I think it's the one thing with anybody that's self-employed it's really hard to let go, isn't it?
Yeah.
It's a really big
But
act.
it's finding the right person, isn't it? And I think then when you trust them 100%, which, you know, obviously I do, it really is a weight off.
How was that process for you? Was it sort of like quite straightforward, or?
In terms of finding someone? So I put something out on Instagram and then panicked and took it down.
Classic move.
I'm not ready for this. I'm not ready. And I've always just kind of had people that I've sort of known, you know. And I kind of knew her as well, and just was chatting to her. She was leaving her career, going into a different, you know, going down a different direction, and she just said, "Can I throw my name in the hat for this?" And I thought, yeah, you can.
She'd seen it in the time that it'd been live.
Well, we just were chatting, and I thought, oh, I wonder if she's got a younger cousin or something, you know, she's from around here, she might know somebody. And she said, "Can I throw my name in?" And I was like, yeah, you can. Post is off. And that was for me a really easy process. And then we just met and went through the things that kind of we have to do and how it works. And yeah, it's great. You can breathe.
Taking more on? Has it got you thinking about the bigger picture now of your business? Because I think
it has.
One of the things I was going to ask you is like, where does and normally we ask about the future of your business maybe towards the end of the episode, but I suppose like whilst we're on the subject we might as well cover it a bit. But you know, how does your business, how can you scale or grow your business? And
it's through having other people.
Growing a team?
Yeah, it's growing a team.
Tara Knott, the brand is it's a styling company that you kind of, you know, outsource people to.
Yeah, I'd be nervous about getting too big, because at the moment, and it is that, I'm sure everybody feels this when they have their own business, but it's almost, I talk to all the couples, I have that relationship with them, and I can manage all of that, and that's great. But then when you start bringing other people in, and if you got I know some people and it totally works for them, but they're styling every day, and I just don't want to do that, because I don't feel like I could give the service and for it to look as good as I want it to, if you're constantly
your
churning
standard,
stuff out.
your outputs.
And I know my pressure points, and I think probably the volume of weddings that I have this year is where I would cap it. But I think maybe I would look at other opportunities for the business in terms of training, workshop, that kind of area. Yeah. Yeah.
No, I think it's really good that you've been able to take somebody on and just take that workload off your plate.
Honestly,
I think it's the one thing that I've been through wedding seasons before and gone, I've got too much on here.
Yeah.
But always found it really difficult to let go.
And it's hard with what you do as well, because it's, I don't know, even if someone else is taking those photos for you, it's, I don't know, I find that really hard.
No, because I was sort of
even if they're great, you know.
I was sort of thinking, trying to put myself in your shoes, and the one thing that I could find myself not being able to replicate or sort of like teach someone in some ways would be just the aesthetic, your taste, and how do you impart that, or how do you sort of like teach that or transfer that to someone that this is exactly how I would want it, or this is how Tara would like it?
Yeah, that's
Tara
really good question.
How would Tara like this? Is our setup okay for you? It's pretty minimal.
She's done a lovely job. Yeah, it's good.
Yeah.
What would you change?
I wouldn't change anything.
You've already been eyeing up a couple of my vases, haven't you?
Yeah, I have actually. There's a lot of very nice vases. I think just because they're shadowing me and working with me, they get to know anyway, and certain things that I guess are a bit of a signature style. But also, so today, for example, we're setting up a wedding, and we had they had a load of Polaroid pictures that needed to be put up on a frame, and so I left her to get on with it, and she did it better than I didn't think about doing it that way. I was like, I love that. I love what you've done. Yeah. It's a really small little thing, isn't it? Yeah. But I always think you learn from other people as well, and that was something that when I was at the university was a massive part of my job, really, because I worked a lot with event management students, and I always think that you learn from people. It doesn't matter what age anybody is, you learn from someone younger, someone older, someone with no experience, someone who is maybe young and inexperienced, has no fear when it comes to just putting an idea out there. But as we get older, we kind of go, oh, it's probably a rubbish idea, better not do it.
it's brilliant. I had a question right on the tip of my tongue then. I completely forgotten it. It'll come back to me.
Come back to you.
That's why I constantly
oh man,
typing it out. And if I'm on my phone, it's literally because I'm typing, thinking ahead.
Oh, that was it. No. I was just like, what did you do before the university? What was your background before you kind of got into events management?
So I did a theatre degree.
Yeah.
I did theatre. Probably thought I was going to be an actress. That didn't work out. And I worked more in art, still in events, but it was more arts and culture based. So I was over in Buxton. So I worked a lot with the Buxton Opera House, and we worked with the festivals and those sorts of things. So I have always worked in some way in events. Even when I think back to when I was a teenager and I worked in a hotel or, pubs or whatever else when I was a student.
Yeah, because I think people can find weddings they can be quite high pressured, stressful days, can't they? But obviously you just... you're quite comfortable at it.
Really comfortable. And I think that's honestly think it's from years of event management, because if I think back to when I first started, there are some points where in events where I think, I've got away with that. I'm talking about when I was much younger and new into what I was doing.
I feel like we need to know what those are.
Well, there wasn't nothing particularly. No, not really. But I think people always say in events, it's like a swan effect. So on the outside, you're projecting that everything is all good, but internally, you can be having a breakdown. It's fine. Okay. You're just like thinking, right, I've got to do that. And I'm so used to managing so many different things. So when at the university, sometimes we'd have 4 events a week at within the conference venue. Okay, they weren't full scale events, but you're constantly thinking about it, and so you're having to manage different things, and then go to a meeting or whatever else. Then you got to do month end budgeting. You're constantly flitting from thing to thing, and I think that has really helped me in what I do now. Because so the weddings that I've got this weekend, I mentally packed those last week. So now I'm thinking about so next week, what we've got to do for the laundry, or just those real basics. Yeah. They're having that, so make sure that that's put to one side, or has the stationery arrived. So you're just constantly thinking about it all the time. Yeah. But I love that pressure. I do actually. It's quite exciting.
Yes, I think it's the same for us, really.
Oh, I was going to cut at that. Well, carry on. No, carry on. Yeah, it's exciting.
I think it's the same for us, really, in the sense that we love that pressure and we thrive on it, and that's
you have to. Yeah. There's some.
The reason I start about your background as well is because I can imagine some people kind of listening to this going, "Oh, do you know what? I'd love to do that."
Yeah.
But I'm not saying anybody shouldn't do it, but I think it's important to recognise your background and where your skills lie and where your strengths are. Yeah. And what you've obviously got, what you've built up over the years, is a really strong ability to be able to go into events and go, I know what I'm doing here. Like it's not gonna phase me.
No.
It's the same for photographers. Like there's so many people that we know that want to be photographers and like can be great photographers, but under the pressure of a wedding, go, oh my Lord, what am I doing here? And
the pressure of that, I couldn't do that.
But that's because our backgrounds are slightly different. Yeah. We've been able to kind of deal with that pressure. So, I think it's great to go into the industry. The industry is magnificent, but you've got to kind of be able to prepare yourself for those stresses.
And playing to your strengths.
And it's sometimes putting yourself outside of your comfort zone, isn't it?
Oh, without doubt.
I know that there have been events that I've been involved in the past where I've thought, I just don't think I can do that. I think it's bigger than me. And then someone said, no, you can. And then afterwards, when you've done it, you're like, I could. But I think I have to have that little bit of fear, because otherwise you become complacent. And if you're complacent, you might as well stop, in my opinion.
Igor, I've got something exciting to tell you. And no, it's not that I've watched Interstellar. I watched Interstellar.
Yes,
I've got something better than that.
What have you bought me?
I've not bought you anything. I'm sorry. This is going to be disappointing already, isn't it? We've got our first sponsor.
Whoa.
First sponsor.
No way.
Yeah way.
No way.
Yeah way.
Okay, tell me more.
Studio Ninja.
Woohoo!
They're on board.
Boom.
They like the pod. They like what we're doing.
Yep.
And they've reached out to say, can we do something? So
that's amazing. We were talking about Studio Ninja the other day, weren't we?
Yeah, a few days ago. I said we talked about Studio Ninja.
How did that conversation go?
It went along the lines of, "Hey Igor, do you use Studio Ninja?"
And I said, "No." And in fact, the question was, "So how do you manage your clients?" And I said, "I just add them to my Apple Calendar."
I'm like, "Who is this guy? Like, what are you doing?" Like, we talk about this all the time, about running an efficient business, and when you are manually doing anything in your business, and this is like me telling you about why I love and live by Studio Ninja as a product and a service. Like, I don't have to do any of that. It's all automated. Yeah. You know, so when an inquiry comes in, it's already in my calendar. Yeah. Automatically in my calendar. I've already got their email response going out. Yeah. I haven't got to pre-format any emails. You know, if they book me, it sends an invoice. It chases the invoice. It sends out a contract. It's literally all under one portal.
All one hub. Yeah.
And you're not utilising any of that. You are an absolute fool.
I did feel a bit like, maybe I'm missing something out here when you asked me, so how do you invoice your client? I just go and do it. But do you do it manually then? And,
no.
And I'm like, yeah, but you do it automatically.
No, it does it automatically, yeah.
Which is amazing.
So even like 6 weeks out from the wedding, it will automatically trigger my final invoice due email. Yeah. It's got their invoice
and you've got reminders as well.
It's got reminders, yeah, but it will automatically send. I won't have to go into the system. It automatically sends it on a date triggered by the system. 6 weeks before the wedding. Here's your invoice. Here's a link to the questionnaire that Sam needs. So fill it out and let's sort out a Zoom call.
I think I need to have a sit down.
That's barely scratching the surface.
Yeah.
So we need to sit down together, me and you, and set you up with Studio Ninja.
Yeah, because it sounds amazing.
You get a month free when you sign up anyway. But they've very kindly given us a code for anybody listening and watching this for 6 months free.
Boom.
On your first year of subscription.
No brainer.
So if you just type in another idea, that'll get you 6 months free.
I'm joining, clearly. So
you definitely are. Amazing. So thank you very much to Studio Ninja for getting on board.
Boom, boom, pow. Let's get effective. So in terms of the couples that you tend to work with, do you find it that you have to steer them creatively quite a lot, or do they bring quite a lot of the ideas?
It's a real mix.
Yeah.
Some people have got ideas of what they've seen and they like, but they don't know how to bring it together. And some people have got no idea and no inclination to want to. They just would rather someone else did it for them. Help them, and say, what do you think about this? And it's great if a couple just straight away say yes or no. Don't like that. And one of the things that I always do when I first meet with them is tell me what you're thinking. Tell me how you imagine your day to look. Tell me what you don't like, because that's really important. Yeah. And I think my style is I don't do things like chair covers or that sort of thing. So if anybody ever were to come to me and say that, I'd be very honest and say that isn't what I do. I'm going to pass you on I'll recommend you to somebody else, but I don't want to do that just because it's another booking. Do you know what I mean? I want it to be my style, and I want it to feel creative and feel proud of it. But the couples that I tend to work with,
I think that's how you build a really healthy business, though, isn't it? Like, you want to care about the product you're delivering, and you want your couples to love that. And if you start taking on those bookings, I suppose it's a dangerous place to be, isn't it? When you start taking on bookings just for the sake of a booking.
Yeah. Oh, I don't want to do that.
It's a slippery slope, because it just ends in trouble. You don't feel as satisfied.
No, and I think everybody has their strengths, don't they? And I certainly know what mine are, and I know what my style is that I've built over however many years. So if somebody comes to me and were to show me an image, and I would think 100% I'm not going to be able to do that, I would be really honest about it, and I have been in the past, because I work a lot with florists and fresh flowers, and I don't really work with kind of silk flowers or any of that sort of stuff, which that makes me sound like a bit of a snob, doesn't it? I'm not. No, but it's just that's not my style.
You know your aesthetic.
Yeah. And I wouldn't. I just don't think I'd do a very good job with it, to be honest.
Yeah. Where's your inspiration come from in your in your field? Like what inspires you, and how do you kind of see creativity in your role? So
I would take inspiration from so many different things. I mean, I've taken inspiration from like a broken down wall before. Or I used to light the dead flowers on the side of the road, before dried flowers were a thing. I'd be like, oh, that's so nice, look at that dried flower. And so really random places. Sometimes colour, I've taken inspiration from Emily was playing with paints, and she just put these random colours together. I took a picture of it. I was like, that is a palette. That is great.
Yeah. Here's £1.50.
Yeah, £1.50. And then, things like Pinterest and those sorts of things that we all see. Yeah. There's certainly magazines that, even just Elle Decor. I love to just have a look through Elle Decor and look at tablescapes, because tablescaping is really one of my favourite things to do. Yeah. And then you know, working with different florists, because you get to see so many different things, that inspires you, and then it has like a knock-on effect, and you think of something else that would work with that. Or sometimes when I'm working with a couple, they will say, oh, I don't know what colour my wedding's going to be, like I'm not sure. I'm like, don't stress with that. Start with just a real basic. There's always whites and greens in flowers. Start with that and then build it. And if you go for something seasonal, then we can look at things that work with that. And I will very often take different shades of fabrics that to a wedding, because when I see the flowers, I'm probably going to change my mind. And they're totally cool with it, because they're like, you crack on.
Yeah.
Which is great, and that's a nice position to be in, isn't it?
Yeah, definitely. It sounds like a very hands-on process, like very involved with your couple, and I don't know, quite intimate. You get to know them, I guess.
Yeah, definitely.
There's a real fine art as well to the tablescaping as well that you touched on as well. And we talked about it recently about food styling, didn't we, with Sophie, and how we did. You're looking at me as that you're looking.
No.
Yeah, no,
yeah,
we did, didn't we?
Yeah.
Like, there's a real skill in just being able to kind of
and she's incredible.
position and set up things in that way, and like, it's just incredible that you, like, if you were to put a table and loads of props on, I'd make an absolute dog's dinner of it, I think.
But I think as well, you know, some stylists will say, oh, you can do it. I'll do it all. I could do food styling. I could do I know I couldn't do food styling. It wouldn't be, if somebody came to me and said, oh, could you do some food styling? I'd be like, absolutely not. I'm not gonna make a good job of that. Yeah, but if you want to borrow a few vases. But you know, that is a real skill and a real art, definitely.
Sorry, did I jump on your point there?
No. That was perfect.
Is that it?
Yeah.
How do you find balancing now what is primarily a week? I'm assuming you didn't work much weekend stuff with the previous job. How are you finding that with balancing family life and having 2 kids? And
well, it's a juggle for sure, but you just find a way, don't you? It swings and roundabouts. I can pretty much take them to school and pick them up every single day. There are lots of points in the school holidays where I can just clear time and have that time with them, which is brilliant. I can go in to do the things that they do at school, you know, you go and watch something or whatever else, which I couldn't necessarily do before because I didn't have that flexibility. Yeah. And then at the weekends, that can be tough because they're obviously off and they're like, you're working again. But then you have your busy periods and then you have your quiet periods. And I'm really lucky that because Jimmy is self-employed, he totally understands that juggle, and sometimes he's got loads on and I haven't, or vice versa. So the children are always with one of us pretty much. But it's also about blocking time out, isn't it? And I did do that this August, block time out. Yeah. For the first time, actually made a note, and even next year I'm looking in my diary going, when does Easter fall? Like, don't take a wedding on Easter Sunday.
It's true,
because you want to enjoy it as well.
Of course,
Christmas, I don't take weddings over Christmas. Kind of the last date I would do would be when the children are still at school, to be honest, and then you can enjoy, so you get to have all that time off with them as well. So it does, you just find a way, don't you? Every day is different, and there's always something else, you know, to think about or whatever, but yeah, we do make it work.
I can't imagine there's a dull day in your sort of job. I mean, you're always running around getting stuff. Yeah, there's always stuff on the go with your line of work.
Well, you're always ordering stuff as well, and Jimmy loves nothing more than taking my parcels in. So he said to me the other day, do you think you should get a PO box? No. But you're doing all of that, so you're doing all of your kind of stock and ordering and things that you need to have. And sometimes people haven't made a decision until quite last minute. Yeah. So you've got to be on it with that. And then one day might be client meetings or venue visits. You might be going over to work with a florist, or, you know, every day is really different. Yeah. And I try not to fill every single day so that I can do some admin. Yeah. Because that's the bit that, you know, the admin side of it is a lot, isn't it? When
there's always more, always more to it than I think people would ever imagine. Yeah,
and it's, you know, there's so many ways that people can contact you now that you've got to be on it, haven't you?
Do you set any sort of
So I am happy for people to contact me. You know, they can WhatsApp me, they can send me an Instagram message. If it's something final detail for your wedding, it's got to go in an email. Yeah. If you WhatsApp me, I'm not necessarily going to come back to you straight away, and sometimes I don't, and I will say, look, I needed to wait to a point until I could properly read that and go through all the detail, because the worst thing is to open it and then forget about it. Yeah. And, you know,
especially when, I don't know about you, but like my kids have my phone.
Yeah.
I've had couples message me before, like message me. I don't even check my message. I always use WhatsApp.
Yeah.
And Buddy's probably been playing on Roblox and just
Yeah.
swiped it off. And
Yeah.
it's like,
I might
haven't
have done
seen
that loads of times. Cancelled
So
calls.
bad.
Yeah, that's it. That happened to me the other day.
Did it?
Calling Sam. Whoop.
No, see you later.
Yeah, that's definitely Buddy.
Gameplay.
I was going to ask, obviously you got Jimmy. Is he quite creative? Is he someone that you usually tend to bounce off ideas off? Or do you sort of like have your own spaces by him being self-employed as well?
So he's creative, he does video. And so it is good to be able to talk to him about something, or even just little things. You know, when I was trying to learn Reels, he was like, you need to look at your framing. And then he just showed me like little tips on what to do. I'm like, oh yeah, that's a really good idea. I wouldn't have thought of that. But he is really good to bounce ideas off with. And sometimes he'll tell me that, you know, obviously talk about things that he's doing, or show me videos and bits and pieces. But we don't work together. I don't know that we could work together.
I think most people say that about their partner.
That was the question I was getting.
Jimmy's not one to like hold back on it. Like if he thinks something, he'll tell you, won't he?
Yeah. Oh yeah. Be really honest.
Straight up.
Yeah. And he would. And sometimes he'll
in a
say things.
way.
Yeah. He's not like mean. But he would maybe say, you know, maybe you need to think about that in terms of your business, because you've got to think about how much you know what you're giving to every single you know event or whatever else, and that's a fair point.
Have you found like the pricing journey in styling and like, okay, here we go. No, that sounds like a can.
I just think
just slowly
hard,
peeling back.
isn't it?
Hold on.
It's hard. You know, I was saying about the very first wedding I did, £200 or whatever. And then I remember someone saying, you need to really put your prices up. And I think I went up to 500 or something like that. I was like, oh my God, no one's ever going to go for it. But then you just start to find your client, don't you? And I think it's about...
Just on a really basic level, so do you charge £5 for your service and time, and then like anything that you supply is extra, or... I'm completely naive to the industry in that sense.
Yeah.
So I have a collection of services. I don't like the word packages. So they're a collection of services, and you can go for a full styling package, which is sort of the top price, and that includes all your stationery, and we'll work with a florist. Or you can go one down from that, and that includes everything but your stationery.
I think we'll take full service when we for our wedding.
Full service.
We'll take full service. Yeah.
And then some people just want to do hire. So if they just want to hire stuff, they can just come and collect it, and that's a minimum spend, because you've got to get everything ready. And it's still, obviously it's not as much work as when you're setting up, but you've still got to make sure everything is ready and boxed and looks nice and clean. But I think pricing is always a difficult one. I think you also, once you feel confident with that, I feel confident with what I charge now. I feel like couples get a good deal with it. But it's those first initial moments, kind of, if you're going to put your prices up, and sometimes people will say, yeah, sure, and other times people say, no, it's not within our budget. Like, oh, I'm really sorry. Whereas before I would have gone, oh, let me see what I can do. But then if you keep doing that, I'll end up taking on more and more volume of work, and I sort of have to be strict, you know, with what I'm doing.
In terms of what you're earning as well, saying that's it. Your margin is going down as you keep giving discounts, really. I don't know where I heard it.
I don't like to give a discount.
I don't know where I heard it. It was sometime this week, and something on the lines of, never be the first one to give a discount.
Yeah, I heard that. Will be someone that we both mutually follow. It might have been Jai. It was Jai, wasn't it? Yeah, and it's right.
Yeah.
Can I talk about your sales approach? Because I went to take some photos for you, didn't I, the other week?
Yeah.
So you asked for some. You just done like a little.
We did a contra, didn't we? That's why I'm here.
I've heard of this, by the way.
And you might not have noticed. You might not have realised what I'm going to ask you, but the mother and the brides that were there, were they one of your couples, or were they
Yes. So they have a wedding in October. They're already booked. Yeah, but that was my first meeting with them.
Okay.
Yeah, so I'd only spoken to her on the phone, and then that was the first venue visit.
But whilst I was busy in the background taking the photos for you, I was just earwigging. And you had this amazing tone of just like kind of calmness with them, and just you were very aware, and just you let them like speak, and like you were obviously very aware, and like I could just hear the conversation, kind of direct them a little bit, but also kind of just not putting your opinion on too much and being very, I don't know, I just thought your approach to the way you spoke to them was almost very under, like a lot of people would just take that for granted.
Yeah.
But I just wanted to get your thoughts on like what your approach is to maybe people that haven't booked you. Like,
so it's not a hard sell at all, and I hate a hard sell.
I think that's the angle I'm trying to go at.
Yeah,
I can imagine some people are very much like sales, like I've got to get people, how do I do it? But your approach wasn't like that.
It's more about, firstly, if they have found me, say it's on Instagram, they obviously like what they see, so that's the first hurdle. They can download a brochure as well from my website, so they've already seen the pricing. So when they send through an inquiry, it's not I don't hound them until, I'm like, there's no pressure to make an immediate decision. I can let you know if somebody else wants that day. It's quite a gentle approach, really, because when they're going out to lots of different suppliers, if somebody is constantly like, do you know yet? Do you know what you're doing? Or I would find that annoying.
Yeah.
I mean, when I think back to things that I've done in, my previous role, where we would have to make a certain number of calls and things, people don't want it.
It kind of goes against
it
what
does.
you would think a sales approach should be.
Definitely.
And it takes a level of sort of bravery, I suppose, to go, I'm just going to sit back.
Yeah, and I think...
And just let them make the decision.
Well, if I post a picture, say, at a venue, or the venue posts a picture of work that I've styled, that always leads to some kind of conversation with somebody. And just from having that conversation, they might say really openly, oh, we would love you to style it, but we just don't have that budget. But could we look at hire? Yeah, of course you can. And then they'll come and they'll look through, we'll have a chat about hire items, whatever else. And I'm not, even though, some people be really prescriptive with what you can have for that. If I think it's going to look good, I want it to look good ultimately. Yeah. I'm going to bring it. So as long as they're happy with it.
You're not going to start.
So I'm not going to go, I'm going to bring this.
Well, I've only bought 4 candles. Because...
no, I would never do that, because it's got to look right. And I have enough sort of stock and, bits and pieces that I can do that. But I would say definitely the sales approach is gentle and just a conversational.
Has it always been like that? Have you?
Yeah, I think so. Yeah. I think so. I think I just don't like that hard sale. And I think you're working with these people. It's one of the, happiest days of their lives. You're in a really privileged position where you meet their family and they're quite open with you about lots of different things. And you've got to build that relationship. And I think sometimes I forget I have to get paid. God, I need to invoice them. Yeah. I'm having a lovely time.
I think what comes across a lot for me is that it's about letting your work speak for itself first and foremost. Yeah. And just being really passionate about what you do. Yeah. And then just kind of letting just trusting in that process. That the couple are going to go, no, do you know what? This is what we want. We love her work. She's passionate. What else do you want? If the budget works, the budget works. If it doesn't, then you get a feeling. Move on, don't you?
Yeah, that's it. Yeah. And I think, as you said, very much, which is your style, it's very much selling without selling. Yeah. And I say selling in the sense of that you are educating them. You are, in some ways, instilling that trust with all of your expertise and everything else. Yeah. And then in some ways, it becomes a no-brainer, really, to say yes and go with you, because you have educated them. You have shown how good you are at it. So,
thanks.
Yeah, that's great.
We've got to give you a couple of compliments.
I think as well, people buy from people, don't they? So
that's one.
Sometimes you might have a conversation with a couple and you think probably we're not right for each other, and that's okay. That's not a bad thing, because ultimately you need to, like I said before, you're working together. You've got to get along. There's got to be that sort of mutual respect, and so if you aren't each other's cup of tea, then
you said it recently about there's enough weddings out there for everybody.
There's enough work for everybody, and there's so many people doing what we're all doing. There really are, and there is enough work that it's not like people are fighting each other for it. Well, not that I'm aware of, anyway.
I don't know. If somebody wants to if they're looking to get into the industry and styling, what would be a kind of start point for? I mean, obviously, I know you've done style shoots before and arranged style shoots. How often or frequently do you do those now?
In wedding season, I don't tend to, just because it's so busy. Right? Yeah, but I think if you're trying to get into the industry, it's all about getting experience. So, offering yourself for free, or you know, and maybe get an all-round experience. So don't just go with a stylist, maybe then go with a florist, maybe work at a venue. I really feel like the event and hospitality side for me has been massive in terms of my career and how I, you know, when I go into a venue, I understand those pressure points that the caterers are under. And, you know, I've always been able to communicate with people on, you know, different levels, and understanding that your estates team, your catering team, they're the people that you have, you know, you've got to get on board and treat with respect and work nicely with, because ultimately they're the ones that keep the day going. And for us going into venues, that makes it easier. So I would say to get experience in
those
that.
venues, they've got like a wealth of available work to send your way. You know, if they like you
of
and you do a good
course.
job for them, they're going to be like, give Tara a chance.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
You can come back.
And I'm really lucky that I do get venue recommendations, and I'm so grateful for that always. But I think if you try and get an all-round experience, and also don't go in sort of giving the impression that you're gonna, I don't know, sort of
take the industry by storm.
Well, no, not that, but
okay.
I used to have event management students who I'd say, what do you want to do when you leave? Oh, I want to run Glastonbury. Like, okay, I get it, but you're going to have to go and do some work experience at Glastonbury then. And then we'd send them off to go and do security, you know, stewarding or whatever.
Never again.
They didn't want to do it. And you've got people that want to do all of that, and the sort of the jobs that maybe nobody else wants to do, because you do have to do them all to get that all-round experience. So it isn't a job for everyone.
So I just want to loop back to something that you said at the start that just reminded me of something. I can remember, obviously we know each other personally, and you know, you talk to my wife Gemma quite a bit, and I can remember you saying something to her when she was in a position that was similar to you with the university, and a job that I'm not sure, she wasn't enjoying it maybe as much as you were enjoying the university, but you kind of gave her some advice that really stood out at the time about kind of just making that leap. Like, can you remember what that was? What was your kind of advice to her?
Yeah, so it was about if you do take that leap, the opportunity that will come to you, because your drive is different. Because you're not working with someone else, so you're not there kind of knowing you're going to get your salary at the end of the month. You've got to work for it. And so it was about just taking that risk, because it will pay off. And it has, hasn't it?
Yeah, it really has. Yeah, but and I suppose it's about the time that it gives you back as well. Like, you're not tied to that job, so you have time to give the new project, whatever it may be,
definitely,
like the care and attention that it needs.
Yeah, and you get to work on the aspects that you want to work on as well. You know, when you work for somebody else, you're on their agenda, aren't you?
Yeah.
And you have to respect that, and I always did when I was employed. But it's when it's for yourself and it's for your own agenda and for your future growth or whatever you want to do, I just feel like the drive is different.
Yeah, and it's really hard to make it work. Really hard to give that time to a new project when you are working at, I suppose, the 9 to 5 job, because you're coming back and you've got, you know, kids to deal with as well, and you're knackered. It's really hard to always get off the ground. Sometimes you need that kind of that bit of fear,
that drive, that push.
Fear.
Yeah,
I think it's the fear. Yeah,
it's on you.
It's on you, and then you know when you first pay yourself, like, pay myself. Wow,
let's go again.
That's great. But it's having that fear and remaining positive and wanting it to work. And being self-employed is not for everybody at all.
No, of course not.
There's some people that do like the security and comfort, but I feel like, and I don't know what you think, but coming out of a global pandemic and surviving that, you kind of feel like, well, you could survive a lot of things. That was tough. Yeah. And there were real moments of, I remember going into 2021 and saying, I don't want to go into 2021. We knew we were going to be locked down again, didn't we? And thinking, I just don't want the postponements to come. Just waiting for that trigger. And I think I just had a load in one day. I was like, oh God,
here we go.
It's starting again. Yeah. But there was never a point where I thought, like you said earlier, did you think about going back? No.
Never crossed your mind?
No.
People
ask me that a lot.
Yeah.
Oh, I bet you picked the wrong time to leave, didn't you? Yeah. Or I bet I bet you wish you could go back.
No.
Like, absolutely not. No.
And you actually, you've played the situation to your advantage, really, by making the most of that time and that opportunity to really set your business, kind of lay your business foundations to allow yourself to grow to the stage you're at.
Yeah,
you know,
definitely.
And I even, going back to that point, that piece of advice you gave to Gemma, I found myself giving myself what you'd said. I can remember saying that to me when I moved into this studio here, going, hold on a second there, it's scary, I'm a bit worried, but actually it's going to free up time, it's going to give me more opportunities to do things that I would never have thought about. Are you okay, Eagle? Was that a tummy rumble?
That was my stomach.
That was your stomach, was it?
I thought I got away with it as well.
I got that one.
Eagle Eye Sam.
I think if you're enjoying what you do as well, and I would always say to anybody, if you're not happy in the job that you're doing, yes, there are practical things that you need to sort out in terms of the financials. We can't all just go, I'm going to have a notice in. There's got to be a little bit of thought into it. But if you are thinking about that, or you're not happy somewhere, I would just say go for it, because there is so many.
It's about taking those small steps, isn't it? Like, you're not just going to go, do you know what, I'm not very happy, right, I'm handing my notice in.
Yeah.
But what you might do is go, I'm going to start working towards 6 months' time and being ready to go, I'm handing my notice in.
And that's what I did. It was almost a timeline in my head. And then I didn't really know I was going to do it that day, and then I just went and did it. Cried into a Subway napkin, and then came home and went, handed my notice in today. But, you know, it all worked out, didn't it?
Yeah, absolutely.
I was going to say something else, and now I can't remember what it was.
Sorry,
it will come back to me, I'm sure.
I was going to say, for me, it was very similar to that, but I'm very risk adverse, so I stood back quite a bit, really, until I actually made the jump and sort of like, okay, I'm going to do it and do it full time and do it well. But I think with your point about Gemma, it just shows that importance of having those sort of people that speak into your life and kind of like say, go for it.
Well, it's strange, isn't it? Because like me and Tara both know Gemma, obviously, and we can see it. Like we could both sit there and go, Gemma, you will be great at this thing that you're going to go and do. Like, she wanted to be a PT and move into fitness. Like, you're going to smash it. But Gemma almost couldn't see it, and I think that's often, or she struggled to see it, I suppose, or have the self-belief and the confidence to go, I can make this a success.
Definitely.
And I think sometimes we take for granted actually that, maybe I'm speaking for myself here. I'm not somebody that hangs around questioning. I just go and do it. But that's not everybody.
That's it.
You know,
I think I'm mixed. I think I'm somewhere in the middle. But I think when you set up your own business, you've got to put yourself out there, haven't you? And that is often the most challenging thing. Because you feel like, what will my friends think? Because they think I'm really stupid. It actually doesn't matter what your friends think, because your family, they're not your client. And you do eventually get, sometimes I post things on Instagram, my little tagline or whatever, and I think, that's gross. Why did I write that? It's a bit cheesy. And then 2 minutes later, I've forgotten about it. It's fine. I think there's always going to be elements of feeling uncomfortable with things you do, but just not care too much about it, because ultimately you want your business to be a success, and find that drive.
Brilliant.
That's really good.
No, I think it's really good to I think it's about having the awareness of like that fear is a good thing. It's a good feeling to have. Like, it means that you're doing something that's you're going to grow from that, and something's going to come of it. Nothing comes from a place of comfort, does it?
No, absolutely. And I think when I was thinking about leaving, I wanted to leave on a high. I didn't want to be one of those people that had just carried on and thought, oh my gosh, this is awful, and falling out with people or not giving my best work. I wanted to leave on a high and know that I could kind of look back at the things that I had achieved there and feel really proud about it, and even once I had left, I would see things that perhaps the team and stuff were still doing, and I would still feel really proud that I had worked there. And I think if you're in danger sometimes, if you drag it out, that you don't have that. And I know I could bump into anybody that I worked with and have a really nice conversation with them. Good. Which is that's nice.
It's really good to have. It's really, really good to have. In terms of the business right now, any sort of like future plans to scale up, or dream big with us, Tara? Dream big with us.
So, in terms of, like I was saying before, in terms of the volume of weddings, for me at the moment, I don't want to get bigger and take on a big team and premises and things like that. And certainly not whilst the children are the age that they are. It might be something that I did in the future. But really where I see it going is in sort of training and workshops and that sort of aspect of it, because I think there's so many people that have been brilliant mentors for me when I came into the industry, and that I'm still work with now, and so grateful for, because they championed what I did, and you didn't have to, but they obviously saw something, and I like to do that for other people, and I think that is, even sometimes if you just know that someone believes in what you're doing, it gives you confidence, doesn't it? And I really enjoyed it when I used to work with event management students, and in, you know, training them and seeing where they wanted to go and what they wanted to do. So I think that's definitely something I would want to do in the future. And also to grow perhaps more of the event side, so it ends up being a balance of weddings and events.
I can really see that happening with you in terms of the education thing, scaling up, because we did say it's sort of like behind the scenes and everything else, but you are really good and clear. That's the point I really want to hone in. Really clear communicator, really good at it. So yeah, very much play on that, go hard at it, because the opportunities and the opportunities that you'll be able to literally reach and achieve.
I think people would be absolutely lapping up like education and mentoring from you. I think you've got a lot to offer.
We'll see.
I think it's No, I always remember somebody saying, I can't remember what it was. I think it might have been 9 Dots, talking about how, you know, like knowledge and lessons, it's like kind of a flow. Like you can only hold so much. In order to take on new stuff, you have to pass it on to somebody else. And I think you're probably just at that stage of business now. Like you've spent the last 2 or 3 years kind of building and growing your business to a stage now where you don't have to fight hard or work too hard to get, like, bookings are going to come in now, aren't they? Because you've built a reputation for yourself.
But what I would just jump in on that is that I think sometimes there's a danger of people becoming complacent. In terms of, I'm getting a load of bookings, it's fine. And I don't ever want to be like that, because I still want to feel like, I am still putting stuff out on social media. I'm still building those relationships.
You still want to be within the industry and do it well.
And do it well, and not kind of go, it's fine, it'll all come together. And there is an element of that, you know, all of us.
I'm not for a second saying you're going to just take your foot off the gas and do nothing. I'm just saying you won't have to be like on it constantly marketing wise. That you've built a strong business that, you know, is now going to naturally feed you inquiries. But I'm no doubt you're still going to be doing your TikToks and your reels and Insta and stuff. So, but no, I think you've got a lot to offer people from an education point of view. Just out of interest, how many tequilas is too many on a Thursday night?
I don't drink tequila. I don't do shots. So
okay, if somebody offers you a tequila, Tara, what's your way of avoiding the tequila?
Well, I'm very good at this. So when someone brings a tequila over, you can still lick the salt.
This may have happened on Thursday.
But you just move your tequila to the back, and
while
then you let
someone
else drink it. And then I just gathered the glasses, and that was how I got away with it. And I've been known to hide them in cereal cupboards.
Responsible
and all sorts.
drinking, right?
Thank you. I knew it would kill me.
Yeah, I may have had the tequila. I think I was still paying the price for it yesterday, to be honest.
Oh, Sam.
We had a good night, though, didn't we?
We did.
Had a good night.
It was good.
In fact, that was something I was going to ask you that we haven't talked about yet. It's about how kind of taking yourself outside of your, I suppose your bubble of the city you're in, the place you're in. Like, I don't know about you, but when we went to Birmingham last Thursday as couples, and I found it really inspiring. I don't know about you, like I just found it like, I was like, wow, look at this place, like look at the buildings
city,
and the architecture and the volume of people and the artwork that adorn the restaurants and the streets. And I'm like, I just came away from like genuinely buzzing about coming back here and going,
and I guess so especially when you do it with people that you actually really like and enjoy that company as well.
No, I do. No, we did.
It elevates things, doesn't it?
Yeah.
I think as well, we were wandering around and you didn't feel like you're on holiday. It was great. I hadn't been for years, and I certainly hadn't been around that area that we were at.
I suppose about sort of experiencing other culture, isn't it? And
being
able to kind of use that as a source of inspiration. Like, I don't know. I suppose the point I'm trying to make is like, I think it's something that we should all make the time to do.
Yeah.
And I think
taking time out, definitely.
They always say, don't they, like travel is a really good way of like growing as an individual, isn't it? And I think.
And finding new inspiration, definitely.
Yeah.
Maybe I should start doing weddings
next?
abroad.
Where should we go next? Where are we going?
I like Manchester.
Yeah, I'd be up for Manchester.
I could live in Manchester. I did a wedding up there in May.
I like Manchester.
I had a lovely time. Everyone was so nice. I mean, actually, it was the day of the Man City parade. So there were some stress elements to that because all the road closures were in place and we had to go to different venues. It was fine, we sorted it.
Yeah.
And then I hung a lovely piece of neon and dressed it all, and there was a police riot van parked just outside, which wasn't part of the brief, but the couple were happy. So.
What are the you just saying that then made me think, what are like the future trends for the industry, do you reckon? Is there anything that you think we're going to see soon, or?
Well, I feel like at the moment, so this is what always happens. You kind of see a trend and start. I'll start doing various things, and then everybody. Obviously, it takes a few years, doesn't it? And that trend kind of stays. So I think we're just coming out at the end of almost dried flowers, because I don't know about you, but a lot of the weddings that I have done have been dried. Or people are wanting the Pampers and that kind of thing. But I feel like so many of my couples now are going back to basics and going for that fresh and white and green. And then I've got the polar opposite of people just going for colour and real, I think, full on like party vibes.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, I think the browny, grassy kind of thing is almost gone, hasn't it?
Yeah, it's kind of coming to an end now, definitely.
Definitely seen a lot more in the way of like just foliage.
Yeah, and I think as well, people are becoming more certainly people I work with, in kind of sustainability and in terms of how the florals are made and that sort of thing, whether they're foam free. People care about stuff like that, and also waste. I'm really foam free, so like the Oasis. So if it's just done with, say, chicken wire and water, so you don't get the longevity, but it's foam free. And then. So and then I think, what was I saying? I've lost my trail of thought now. You made me lose my trail of thought.
Yeah, sorry about. We were talking about grass. We were talking about foliage, and then
sustainability and waste. Yeah. So I think people are really conscious about the waste.
I think we rescued that one there, didn't we?
Conscious about the waste of what you're using for a wedding,
because the impact of it.
And I think that's why a lot of people did like the dried element, because they could give them out as gifts. Yeah. And there wasn't all of that. There's nothing worse than seeing all that waste the day after.
Yeah.
It's always nice to try and reuse stuff. But yeah, they're my thoughts.
Brilliant.
It's really good.
Here first. Anything else, Eagle?
No, I think it's been an eye-opening sort of episode, because it's within the wedding industry.
You didn't really know. You said to me the day you went, I don't really know Tara.
Yeah.
Don't know what to, and I almost sensed that you were a bit like, I don't know what to expect from it.
Yeah, exactly.
But I've just sat here like listening to you chatting away, and it's been really good.
It's really, really good. Really eye-opening. So no, thank you. Thank you for being so nice.
Cheers, Tara. Thanks for your time.